Hey everyone, thank you for watching. Today's video I'm really excited to do because it's going to be all about eyeshadow palettes, some of my favorite videos to make. So I recently saw Mel Thompson do a video where she was choosing her top favorite eyeshadow palette from each brand that she had in her collection, and I was like, this seems like a good time. And so I commented it on her video saying it seemed like fun and I wanted to do it, and then I had several people comment under that comment saying that they wanted to see me do it too, and I said, okay, that is what we were going to do today, so let's get started. So I did do every brand in my collection that I have 3 or more palettes from. Some brands I only have 1 palette, some brands I only have 2 palettes, and I was like, let's make it 3 or above, like we're really choosing that top palette. So I have 15 different brands to talk about. I'm a little bit surprised because I honestly thought it would be more, but definitely the brands that I have a lot of, but we have 15 brands to get through, so let's go ahead and get started. Again, these are my top palette picks from each of these brands, starting off with an oldie but a goodie, Dose of Colors. I have quite a few Dose of Colors eyeshadow palettes. I was really obsessed with their 5-pan palettes, their monochromatic palettes that they first came out with. I have the Friendcation palette in collab with Katie and Desi, not Casey. But my top pick, any guesses? Marvelous Mauves. Oh, the Marvelous Mauves kind of matching my fingernails right here. I haven't opened this palette in a hot second, but when I do, look at that. Look at that pan. Look at that pan in that second shade. This might have been like the first eyeshadow palette in the YouTube era. You know, like in the NFL, they have like the Super Bowl era. Well, in Samantha's life, we have the YouTube era, because there was a time where I did actually use up the makeup products that I bought because I owned like 6 makeup items total. But in the YouTube era, we have a lot more than 6, and it's impossible for me sometimes to hit pan on products or use products up. This might be the first eyeshadow palette in the YouTube era that I hit pan on. I loved this baby so much. This is what kind of, I feel like, started my obsession with these little 5-pan monochromatic smaller palettes. I believe it was Dose of Colors, and the Marvelous Mauves went pretty much everywhere with me. Clearly a fan. Except this is a newer brand to me, but I do have 3 eyeshadow palettes, so wanted to include them, and that is Kaleidos Makeup. I do have a 4th palette on its way to me. Club Nebula, the collaboration with Angelica. It should be here soon, which I'm very excited about. But of the 3, I decided to choose the Futurism 1 Sci-Fi Green. I don't know what has happened, but I'm very much into green eyeshadows recently, and this one is just, it is such a fun palette. I have a video trying out some Kaleidos makeup here on my YouTube channel, and this green one really impressed me. I really like these matte greens, but their shimmers are so beautiful. I am really looking forward to getting Club Nebula in the mail. I of course will be doing some looks with it, but this is a nice one. I also want to say, I forgot to mention in the beginning that this eye look, I didn't film a separate video on it, but it is actually the second eye look from my Natasha Denona Mini Love palette video that went up earlier in the week, so I can put that one up in the cards. I did looks 1 and 2 on separate eyes, but I liked look 2 so much I wanted to do it as a full makeup look. So if you're interested in this look, that is from my Natasha Denona palette. There's also a giveaway in there to win not only the Mini Love palette, but also the Midi Love palette. Okay, next up I have Ofra Cosmetics. Now I do have quite a lot of eyeshadows from Ofra. I have some of their 5-pans, I have some of their larger palettes that have eyeshadows and face shades, and then I have some of their even larger palettes that have a little bit of everything. I decided to keep it with the 5-pan palettes because I think that's what I have the most of. When I was kind of laying everything out, it looked like the 5-pans were what I had the most of, and I also just really do enjoy the 5-pans. So out of all of my Ofra 5-pans, the one that I chose out is in Galaxy, and this one is the purple palette. I really like purples. It's so funny. It's like we got mauves and we got greens. Now we're going over to purples, but if you can tell from my eye look today, I really like purples. It's such a complementary color to green eyes, and this one is just so beautiful. I love the middle highlight shade, the Neptune. It is so pretty on the lid. You can wear it as a regular highlight. If you like purples, this is a great little monochromatic palette to have. Urban Decay, I feel like a lot of you could probably guess Urban Decay also, because I talk about this palette all of the time. It's the Naked Reloaded. It is the Naked Reloaded. I enjoy this palette so much. I feel like it's pretty dirty, especially here on this end. These two shades right here, I talk about them so much, Reputation and Burn. They're so beautiful. This is just a palette where, you know, obviously I can do neutral looks with it. I feel like a lot of the Naked palettes lean that way, which makes sense. But at the same time, you can just do some cool things with some of these deeper shades. I really like the formula in here. I mean, I have some other ones from Urban Decay that I really do like, and the honey and the cherry, but like the Naked Reloaded, if you're gonna take away all my Urban Decay palettes, fine. Just don't take away my Naked Reloaded. We have Pat McGrath. Now, we all know that me and Pat McGrath are like this. We're real good friends. But for some reason, she has not put me on her PR list, which is very confuzzling. I haven't figured that out yet. I don't have the most amount of Pat McGrath eyeshadow palettes. What was it? 3 or 4? I think I have 4 different eyeshadow palettes, so I didn't have a ton to choose from, but I feel like out of everything, I'm gonna have to go with my Divine Rose. Not only because I'm super proud of this purchase, because I got it for such a steal. Like, I bought it on sale with a gift card, got another gift card as I was purchasing. Like, this is just a purchase that I'm proud of, but it is also a really beautiful palette. This is one of her Buco Bucks palettes, but this second mauve shade is just so beautiful. Some of these on the end, it's so pretty. And once again, I'm just like really proud of like the actual amount that I paid for this palette, because it was definitely not buku bucks. But yeah, out of all my Pat McGraths, my very small collection, I'm gonna give it to Divine Rose. Next up, we have Sigma Beauty. This was a little bit of a tough one, because I pulled all my Sigma palettes out and I'm looking at them, and I really, really like the Sigma Beauty eyeshadow palettes. I really don't feel like they get talked as much as I feel like they should. They have some great ones, but I had to give it to the Corte Rosa for this one. Giving it to the Corte Rosa, this is such a beautiful palette and such me shades. I mean, and the palettes come with a double-ended brush. This one, I mean, you can see like it's a very loved on palette. Corte Rosa already has a huge dip in it. It's such a beautiful palette. Next up, I have Anastasia Beverly Hills. Can anyone guess what it's gonna be? I have, what do I have, 4 or 5 palettes, I think, maybe, from Anastasia. Not the biggest collection with Anastasia Beverly Hills, but definitely going to give it to the Sultry. I also had the Soft Glam in there for a while, but the Sultry really stole the show for me when it was released. Was it last year holiday or 2 years holiday? I don't know. Time is moving very strangely. I have no idea what day it is, but this is such a pretty palette. I go into it so often. The cool tones, the shimmers in here, this to me is a favorite. It does come with a brush, but I honestly don't like the Anastasia brushes. I don't feel like they add value like I think they do in the Sigma ones, so I pretty much always, I don't know where it is. Like, I try to keep the Sigma ones in their palette because I like them. Anastasia, I'm like, I don't know, Aries could be playing with it as a toy for all that I know, but the shades inside, I'm just, the Sultry took my heart. With e.l.f. Cosmetics, now I do have quite a few from e.l.f. because I really went on a tear buying their bite-sized palettes, that's for sure, but I gotta give it to this one because I reach into this one quite a bit, or I throw it, like sometimes I even just throw it into my purse if I'm going into another town to like do some shopping or whatnot. I'm like, this is like, I could just like put it down my shirt and no one would know it's there. This is the Cream and Sugar. This is the first of the bite-sized palettes that I bought. It's $3. It reminds me a lot of my Natasha Denona Mini Nude, and it's easy to use. The shimmers are beautiful. I feel like there's quite a few of the bite-sized palettes that I could have chose, but I feel like I reach into the Cream and Sugar the most. Next up, from Charlotte Tilbury. All right, so I have some of her quads and then I do have some of her larger palettes, but do we know what it is? It is the Green Lights quad. This palette really is what turned me, I feel like is what turned me on to green shadows. I got her eye color quads in the mail, and when I opened them all up, I was like, I'm never using this palette. I'm never gonna use this. And then I did a video using a look with all 4 of the palettes, so I used this one and I could not stop staring at my eyes with green lights on it. It is beautiful. I can use every single shade. It's just, I had no idea I was gonna love green lights so much. Next up, from Huda Beauty, this is another oldie but a goodie. So from Huda Beauty, I have quite a few of her smaller Obsessions palettes. I do have her larger Nude palette, but I knew immediately, like I knew immediately what palette I was gonna grab for Huda Beauty, and it is the Smoky Obsessions. When Huda Beauty first came out with these Obsessions palettes, I was obsessed. I was obsessed with them, and I was buying so many of them. These are 9-pan palettes. Now I do have, oh no, it like broke again. This bottom one is broken because I used it so much. It eventually, I never even really had the joy of hitting pan in it. It just busted one day, and I keep trying to repress it, but then it broke again. Okay, so I'm gonna add a photo here because it's a disaster. So sad about that. But the Smoky Obsessions was going everywhere with me. I really also loved the Mauve Obsessions, but something about the Smoky, again, a little bit of like sultry vibes in here with some of these more cool tones, and we have like the silvers and the darker colors. But then with the Smoky Obsessions, man, I feel like maybe I should like buy another one just for that one shade, because it's obviously my favorite. It's the one that I use the most, but so good. So I have Lawless Beauty. So I have 3 palettes from Lawless Beauty, all 3 that they have released. Lawless Beauty is a bit of a newer brand, but definitely my favorite is their newest one, the baby one. And I really like the Lawless Beauty eyeshadow formula. If you are someone who likes a little bit more of that blendable, buildable type of eyeshadow formula, it's not too pigmented, it's not going to be too hard to blend out or work with, I'd highly recommend from Lawless Beauty. It's so nice for someone like me who I don't always have the most patience blending. But the baby one, I mean, again, just my tones right here, but also I feel like the shades are just so, they're so fun. This shimmer right here is just beautiful. They're so easy to blend. Love the color story in here. It's a good one. Pure Cosmetics. Pure was another one. I think I have 3 or 4 from Pure Cosmetics, but definitely my favorite would be the collaboration with Raw Beauty Christy. This is her double-sided palette. So we have the colorful side on one end, and then we have the neutral side on the other. I did not hit pan. I just broke it. I dropped it. Definitely, this one is such a good palette from truly all of the Pure palettes that I've tried throughout the years. This one is definitely like a clear favorite. I love that you get so many different color combinations in here, yet it's still really small, and the formula is so good on this one. Juvia's Place. I do have quite a few from Juvia's Place. I have some of their smaller ones. I have some of the larger palettes, but the one that I chose out as my favorite is the Violets. Do you guys understand that I like purple eyeshadow? Have I made it obvious yet? I really like purple eyeshadow. And this one, the formula on these little 6 pans, I think is really, really good. I have the taupes, the nudes, but the violets, I mean, this is just a fun one. From Colourpop Cosmetics, I only have exactly 3 Colourpop palettes in my whole collection, and by 3 I mean 300. No, I'm just kidding. It's not that many, but I have a lot of Colourpop palettes to choose from. And of course I looked at the That's Taupe. Of course I looked at the Going Coconuts. There's so many that I could choose from, but once again I decided to go with an oldie but a goodie. Who can guess? Who can guess? It's the Sweet Talk palette. It's the Sweet Talk palette. Like, don't take away my Sweet Talk. Taupe and Going Coconuts, beautiful palettes, but you know, they're more neutral, a little bit more cool tone neutral, and it's like, you know, I have something like that in my collection. The Sweet Talk is just fun. Not to say I don't have similar palettes like this in my collection, but like, this is just a good time for me. The Sweet Talk has been a top palette of mine from Colourpop for such a long time. I love this Super Shock in here. I think this palette was the first time they put a Super Shock in, and I was like, oh my god, like, why would they do that? Don't they know it's gonna like dry out? I don't really like Super Shock that much. Like, I'm not even gonna like this palette. I didn't even buy this palette myself. I did get this at NPR, and when I talked about it in a Will I Buy It video, I truly will not forget that I was like, nope, I'm not interested. Colourpop just releases too much. I just, no, not for me. And then they sent it, and I was like, this is one of my favorite palettes, and that Super Shock, huge dip in it. One of my favorite shades. And then finally, the last brand we have to talk about, who are we missing? Who are we missing? Oh yes, it's another one of my girlfriends. This is Natasha Denona. What happened to my Natasha Denona collection? Because I had a lot of palettes to choose from. I have a lot of mini palettes. I have multiple midi palettes. I have the gold, I have the Biba. I was like, how How has this come about? Because I also used to talk about Natasha Denona like, I'll probably never try her eyeshadow formula. It's just too expensive for me. Okay, so we know where all my AdSense money is going to. It's Natasha Denona palettes. I chose out the love. I did it. I chose out the love. I know I was really thinking about the mini nude. I really, like, it was between this and the mini nude, and I was like, I could do what Mel did in her video and choose a bigger palette and a smaller palette, but I was like, if I had to narrow it down right now, if you were to take away everything from Natasha Denona in my collection, leave me the love palette and I will be happy. Honestly, if you took away all of my eyeshadow palettes and only left me with these, I would be fine. Let's be honest. I would be pretty golden. I would feel like I have a good shade selection, I have a good formula selection, like it's all good, but don't take away my love palette. This one is so beautiful. I've talked about it so highly. If you've missed my ranking palette for all of the palettes that if you missed my ranking video for all of the palettes that I tried in 2020, a lot of good things. A lot of good things to say about this palette. I just purchased the Mini Love that just released from Natasha Denona. Again, I have a full video on the Mini Love, 3 looks, and I'm giving away this palette and the Mini Love. So make sure that you check that one out. But it's my favorite. I did not see this coming. I really did not see my intense love for this palette coming, but that is the one that I have to choose from Natasha Denona. So after that, that is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed seeing me choose my top favorite palette from each of the brands that I have in my eyeshadow palette collection. I'd love to hear your thoughts, of course, in the comments. Thank you so much to Mel for such a fun video idea. Of course, hers is going to be in the description box. If you haven't checked it out yet, you definitely should. And other than that, that's it. If you enjoyed this one, please make sure to give it a thumbs up. I hope you also consider subscribing before you go, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.